Samuel Stubbs, yardbarker.com. Denny Samuel Stubbs, Field Level Media. Austin Samuel Stubbs, Yardbarker.
Welcome to the Scrum Session Podcast with Samuel Stubbs.
Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Welcome to episode 3 of the Scrum Session Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Stubbs, a NASCAR journalist for yardbarker.com. Proud to bring you episode 3 of the podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe to the follow us on all major podcast platforms or to grow here today. So we'd really appreciate it. We got a packed show this evening for you. It's going to be a really fun time. Going to have clips from Stewart Friesen, who won the Truck Series race at Michigan. We're also going to have some words from Zane Smith, NASCAR Cup Series driver Jimmie Johnson, who ran out in 2023, so a 7th Cup Hall of Famer, Israel, and also Scotland IndyCar driver as the IndyCar Series heads to St. Louis to gateway to Worldwide Technology Raceway, as officially known this week. In an effort to try to keep this under 20 minutes, I'm going to try to talk as little as possible and let those interview clips do the heavy lifting. So the first thing I want to touch on is Stewart Friesen. He needed a win going into Michigan. The playoff cut line was looking like pretty much everybody below it was going to have to win. That's not the case anymore now that he won and shook things up in the 13th race of the season. Stewart hadn't made the playoffs since 2022. He's now back in the postseason. He hadn't won since May of 2022 at Texas Motor Speedway. That's a 72-race winless streak Stewart Friesen broke. Hear from the man in his own words about what that meant to his team and also an announcement coming up for the Hallmark Friesen Racing Team, some Lime Rock and some other races this season.
Yeah, I mean, on any given day, we can run with those guys, and we showed that this year. Maybe not the past couple weeks, but certainly at the beginning of the year, when we had some bad luck, we had really, really fast trucks. So Bristol is one of our best. We got jammed up there in an accident, running well inside the top 5 there. The beginning of that race. So that's a place where we're looking forward to going back to as a playoff race. And just doing our homework. We're a small team, small single car team. We're going to run a second truck here in the next couple of weeks at Lime Rock and some of the other races. So that'll help us build our notebook and hopefully we can we got to hit home runs every time we get on the track to make it through the playoffs. And I think we're definitely capable of that. Just getting stuff right. It wasn't that we had a bad truck at Michigan. We just fought the balance all day from one side of it to the other. So if we can unload with something that's close and get them tuned up to run as fast as I know they can run, we'll have just as good a shot as anybody.
We appreciate Stewart Friesen for taking the time to talk to me on Monday and hearing his words of insight about the end of that race. The other thing, the main thing I want to talk about, where it's me talking this evening, is Denny Hamlin, and he's been the discourse for a lot of reasons. Earlier today on Thursday, it was announced that he will miss the Mexico City race course. He'd been on baby watch. His fiancee, Jordan Fish, gave birth to their 3rd child, a son. Congratulations to Denny and Jordan. That's awesome, bringing a baby boy into the world. Denny will miss this weekend's race in Mexico City. Ryan Truex will fill in. But that's not the reason I want to talk about Denny Hamlin, because he's probably going to get a playoff waiver. I don't see this being something we talk about for any longer than when he gets the waiver. Denny Hamlin made a 701st start at Michigan on Sunday. It was actually his 6th consecutive start. So first race he'll miss since Auto Club in 2014. I don't remember what the circumstance for him missing that race was, but I believe it was Sam Hornish that filled in that day. So over a decade since Denny Hamlin has missed an NASCAR Cup Series race. That's pretty impressive in today's day and age. But Denny Hamlin, I know this has been the talk, the discourse on every major podcast, every article, every whatever, really since he won Martinsville. But it's that at 44 years old, and at a time where he has so many outside distractions from owning a cup team, that cup team going through lawsuits, having a family, and now welcoming a third child, the amount of distractions that this man has to deal with, and all the outside noise going into the year, losing a primary sponsor in FedEx, losing a crew chief in Chris Gabehart, who he'd had so much success with in recent years, didn't seem to faze Denny Hamlin, at least not like I thought he would. I don't know if I put it in writing or in audio form, but at the beginning of the year, I was nervous about Denny Hamlin. I thought there was a chance that he might go winless this year because of adjusting to a new crew chief in Chris Gale, because of maybe the distractions that the court battle with 23-11 in NASCAR may provide. I didn't really think he'd miss the playoffs. I thought he would at least point his way in, but he obviously 3 wins. He's third in the points so fall after this weekend, but still, there's a chance he could win the regular season title. He's tied for the league lead and wins this weekend. If Beller Larson doesn't win this weekend, he'll still be tied even after missing a race. Denny Hamlin has not missed a beat this year, and he's won in a variety of ways. Martinsville dominated. Michigan, he was quick, but that was a fuel saving, just a crafty vet doing crafty vet things. And then Darlington, the middle win of those two, he really attributed that to pit crew. He was clutch late, right? Got off pit road first, held off the field on the restart, and won the race. That's what you got to be able to do in modern NASCAR. You got to be opportunistic. Denny Hamlin is that. He adjusts to the game. And that's, I think, what a lot of these greats do. When you look at guys that kind of fell off towards the end of their careers, Richard Petty was a whole different story with his team and just falling behind technologically. And there's a 40 books worth of what you could talk about Richard Petty's final years. But the things that these great drivers at the end of their careers, what they don't always do is find a way to adjust. It doesn't matter if you're not as good anymore. If you find a way, if you find a niche way to be successful, I'm not saying that's what Denny's doing, but if you can find a way, any way to be successful, you take it and you're remembered much more fondly, because everybody says, especially in today's modern sports world, people are going to remember the last game. It's a, what have you done for me lately? World, especially in the world of professional sports. And right now, what have you done for me lately? Won at Michigan in your 701st start. You won 30 races this year, 57 first year. Denny Hamlin's going to get to 60, I think. Now, this could be his last win. It's plausible. It's the same thing as Jimmie Johnson at Dover in 2017. We didn't think that'd be his last win. There's no way that's his last win. Lo and behold, it was his last win. Speaking of Jimmie Johnson, that's a nice segue into our next interview clip. Jimmie Johnson, a 7-time Cup champion, 83-time Cup winner. He's made starts in IndyCar and made a start in the Indianapolis 500. In 2023, he got to do something he'd been wanting to do for a long time, run at Le Mans. Let's hear from Jimmie and Mike Rockenfeller on what it meant to run in Le Mans, adding a feather to both their caps in their respective racing resumes.
It is so far up there. I haven't really thought about it and giving it a place, but there's so much for me that went into it. Being back with Hendrick Motorsports, being able to go to Le Mans, and now as I sit here, I'm not sure I'll have a chance to go there and race at Le Mans. I'd love to, but just the way life is twisting and turning, that might be my one shot to do it. And I was able to go back with Hendrick Motorsports, work with Chad Knaus and Greg Ives, folks at Chevy, Goodyear. My whole NASCAR career, we were like all back together for that moment. And to develop the car with Rocky, and we had Jensen come on board, Jordan Taylor, the experience we had, the friendship that grew from that, the time we spent together, the race itself, there are just so many, true emotional pieces to the event that I don't think I could have experienced elsewhere. When you're there racing for the trophy, racing for points, you're in a different headspace. And I don't know, I felt like we all knew we really had something to prove with this car, certainly from the NASCAR side of it. I know Rocky felt like there's a big obligation to make sure that his experience was going to really help get this car on track and be ready for the performance required at Le Mans. And the other categories were a little nervous about us being out there. And I'll never forget the first drivers meeting, and they were trying to put a special light on our car or notify us differently as other cars would approach us at such a high rate of speed that we were going to be in the way. And we all took offense to it. And of course, everybody knows how quick the car was, but there were just these various layers that we collectively worked through, collaborated on, that has made it an extremely special opportunity and different than anything else I've experienced.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. What Jimmie already said. I would say when it came up at the very early stage to be involved in the development, I really enjoyed that part. But initially I was like, whoa, we're gonna race in Le Mans, a NASCAR. How is that going to work? And of course, when you're used to go there with a big manufacturer fighting for overall victories, it's a bit of a different challenge and task. But looking back at the whole journey, of course, with the final, let's say, being in Le Mans and take on the 24-hour race, I would say it was probably one of the coolest experience in my whole racing career. We had a great atmosphere. It was just, working with the best of the best people on that project, and also the feedback we got from the fans, from all the other drivers in the paddock, the manufacturers, the teams, was pretty outstanding. And yeah, when at home, when you look at your, I don't know, model cars or your race suits, and when I look at it now as a full set, I would say this was one of the best, like I said, one of the absolute best experience of my life, including now having a documentary about it, which is, yeah, super special, clearly.
Appreciate them and Amazon Prime. Let me just say this, and I'm not being paid to say this. Amazon Prime, obviously their broadcasts have been great, but they have been such a great and willing partner to the media corps. The first email I got from Amazon Prime was talking about the interview with Dale Jr. and talking about the Earnhardt documentary. And then they afforded us the chance to talk to Corey LaJoie, Carl Edwards, Adam Alexander, Steve Letarte, the rest of the Prime broadcast crew. And doing this one with the coinciding with Garage 56 doc with Rockenfeller and Jimmie Johnson. They do a really, really good job of promotion over there. They just take the sport seriously. They treat it like a bunch of warriors and gladiators, which it is. And Amazon Prime is doing a great job. I'm sorry to see they're already halfway or more than halfway through their schedule. I'll be attending the Pocono race for Yard Bark and maybe bringing you all some on-site content here at the podcast. But maybe I can talk to some of those guys there, the broadcast crew, have them reflect kind of on their tenure. And you look at the TV numbers, you can make whatever you want to make out of the TV numbers over these last few weeks. Michigan got 1.77 million viewers. Is that a number you want to see? No, but you got to dig deeper. It's going to be like the NFL with Prime Video. You're going to see a decrease in year one. I think the NFL Thursday Night Football, when it moved over there, saw a 40% decrease, in year one, and then it went up the next year, and it's kept going up exponentially and gotten back to similar numbers to where Thursday Night Football should be. That's what you're going to see. And I think if you can get back to those good numbers with the great broadcast like they're doing, they'll be fine. But I digress. That's besides the point. So thank you to Jimmie and Mike for answering my question there. Let's hear from Zane Smith, NASCAR Cup Series driver in his second season, going to Mexico City this weekend. He's had a much better second year, at least first half of his second year, than he did a rookie year. Remember last year with Spire, rookie year was a mess for Zane Smith. Nothing went right first half of the year. Picked it up, comes back to FRM with whom he won a Truck Series championship with in 2022. Was so good with them in the Truck Series. Now he's back. He has 2 top 10s. He's 22nd in the standings. He's having a pretty solid year. Let's hear from Zane Smith on what it's been like transitioning to year 2 in the Cup Series from a pretty rough year 1.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown definitely as a driver. You grow every year. But to be honest, I don't feel like I've changed anything up with like, oh man, this is why I'm getting good results. My cars have a lot of speed, a lot of fast forwards. It seems like week in and week out. And if we are a little off, I feel my team and I, we're doing an incredible job of getting to where we need to be come Sunday. And so that's super important. And then I felt in the beginning of the year, I don't want to say we lacked any, but like keeping up with the racetrack is a bigger challenge when you start going cup racing. And so I feel that was maybe a challenge last year. And you just see these brutal rookie seasons for guys in cup. I don't remember anyone that just had, oh my gosh, his rookie season he just dominated, won all these races. So you pretty much try to survive through that first year and learn as much as you can, and pretty much just take all the smack talking you can get. It seems like week in and week out, there's just so many things that like it just feels like a bad luck year, your rookie year. I don't really know why. It's still fun because you're cup racing and you're getting experience racing on Sunday and racing every weekend. I think that's really cool. But then just, yeah, your second year around, you know what to expect. By then you've experienced a lot of highs and lows, and you're still going to experience highs and lows in your second year, but I feel like you know how to react to them a little bit better. And yeah, you just know what a race weekend brings. Sunday it could totally be a little overwhelming at times, but trying to, I think, keep a level head and knowing what's important, what's not is probably the biggest thing.
Appreciate Zane and Ford setting up that Zoom with the media corps on Wednesday. The last person we'll talk with, I guess I already talked with, but the last person you'll hear from here on this show before we do a little bit of previewing for Mexico City is Scott McLaughlin, IndyCar driver, NTT IndyCar Series driver for Team Penske. You know anything about Team Penske and Worldwide Technology Raceway, whether you're an open wheel fan or a stock car racing fan, you know they've been pretty darn good there. They've won 2 out of the last 3 in both NASCAR and IndyCar races. McLaughlin won the pole there a year ago in the IndyCar race. He has 4 top 5 finishes, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, not necessarily in that order, but 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. Or his finishes in the IndyCar races in St. Louis. I asked, how does St. Louis differ as a track that has 2 distinct different ends like Darlington, and what makes him and Team Penske especially so darn good there?
I don't know. I can't comment on the NASCAR stuff, and it's awesome when you see them doing really well there. But I think, like for me personally, I just feel like, our cars have been really strong there in the past. I tested there in 2021 and we learned a few things there, and that's sort of carried our momentum through the whole time. But you can't sort of rest on your laurels here in IndyCar. Things will change and whatnot. But, I like I said, I feel confident going there. I feel as a team, we feel confident. It's just a matter of putting it all together. But I think, I don't know what sort of works out for us. It just seems to suit our racing and suit our the style of setups that we take to the short ovals.
And then earlier you mentioned the different corners, just how different those both ends of the racetrack are. I talked to Alex Bowman at the NASCAR weekend last year, and he was kind of comparing it to Darlington on the NASCAR side, a track that just has 2 completely different ends. Do you feel like you have to sacrifice handling maybe on one end with the tighter radius of corners as opposed to the other end with the wider? Do you feel like you have to sacrifice handling at one end to get it better at the other, or is there a happy medium you can kind of hit with that?
There's a happy medium, but I definitely think you need to think about both ends for sure and how you get through there. Similar to 3-4 to 1-2. And that's kind of why I enjoyed this track so much. It's just that challenge of trying to hustle a car that may not really suit one end, but knowing that there's a lot of time in another. So and then you add the hybrid stuff that we used last year. This will be this first time we've gone. Maybe the first or second time we've gone back to a track that we've used the hybrid before. So it's a fun little layout. I really do enjoy it.
Thank you, Scott and Dave First and all the folks at IndyCar Media for setting up these Zooms again. Great stuff from all these media partners. I'm learning that as I'm getting more engrossed and entrenched. Engrossed, I don't even know if that's a word. Entrenched, I guess, into the motorsports media landscape. All these folks, communications folks, PR people, they do such a great job. And these interviews, I'm using them for articles, of course, but then to get to hear them on this show, that's pretty cool too. Last thing I want to do for this show, we're probably over our 20-minute self-imposed time limit. I apologize. Let's preview Mexico City. Let's talk about Mexico City. Daniel Suarez, of course, is the name everybody has circled for both these races. Home race, coming back home. He's from Monterrey, the 2016 Xfinity Series champ, Cup Series winner, looking to come win here. He got his first Cup win on a road course out in Sonoma, California. So who knows, maybe lightning strikes twice. On the Xfinity side, I think you're a little crazy if you don't at least have Connor Zilisch in your top 5 for this weekend. I'm going to pick Zilisch to win this race. He's been getting a lot better on ovals recently, but I think this is the weekend he gets that second win of the year. It's kind of been brewing for a while, and I didn't want to say it would just happen at Mexico. That kind of felt almost like a cheap shot. It's not going to be easy by any means because you're going to have Suarez and a few other guys hopping over into the Xfinity Series race. But I do think Connor Zilisch is my pick for the Xfinity race. For the Cup race, that's a toughie. And as much as I don't want to pick Shane Van Gisbergen because I feel like something's going to go wrong on that car, I'm not sure if I trust Trackhouse enough even after the World 600 win with Chastain. I'm going to pick SVG because I feel like he's the safest pick that I got in my arsenal. So we'll go 288 cars, 2 drivers with ties at Trackhouse. Zilisch on Saturday, Van Gisbergen on Sunday. Next week, when you hear this show, it'll be on the eve of me heading out to Pocono Raceway next Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, Cup Series weekend. Again, hopefully we'll get some on-site content for the pod. Apologies for the show being a bit longer. Hopefully the 4 interviews in here was worth it. Thank you for listening and watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Scrum Session YouTube channel. Follow us on all major podcast platforms at Scrum Session Pod. Follow us on Twitter or X too at Scrum Session Pod. My name is Samuel Stubbs. I'm a NASCAR journalist at Yard Barker. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Goodbye.